Hey, what's up everybody? Mr. B here with Montezuma Martial Arts Academy out of Dolores, Colorado. So, we're talking basics. Actually, specifically, we're talking about white to yellow belt requirements. So, things that we need to start getting that very first rank. So, one of the things that we talk about in every single martial arts class, from the moment you walk in the door until the moment you leave, is we're always talking about stances. Now, some of these stances are pretty universal. We have 5 basic stances that you need in order to promote from your white to your yellow belt, starting with your attention stance. Now, your attention stance is pretty typical, looking for feet together, hands by your side. Some people will have varying ideas about what they want you to do with your arms and your hands. Some people will want you pretty straight up and down. I like a little bit of depth. I like my shapes to look a little bit bigger, so you'll see me pop these elbows, all right? So that way I don't look kind of like a stiff pencil, I just look a little bit more relaxed. The next stance that we do is we move straight into our relaxed stance. Now, our relaxed stance is where we're gonna get our instructions. The instructor's usually gonna be talking about whatever character lesson we have for the day, or explaining the drill. So what you're looking for, again, is a little bit of depth. Like, pop those elbows out. You don't want to be like, you don't want your hands down here playing with your butt, okay? You usually want them tucked right on the belt, and then you should have a little bit of daylight here, right around where your elbows are. And then again, it should be relaxed. Like, you should be able to stand here for a little while and get your lesson. Now, when we're moving from our relaxed stance to our tension stance, we're always looking for that right foot to move in and then out, just depending on which stance we're moving to and from. Our attention stance is where we're almost always going to start the drill. Like, we are calling you to attention to communicate to the entire class that the drill is starting, or whatever it is. Like, we just want to make sure that you're lock, stock, and ready to go. Listening stance. Now, universal stance in every single karate studio, they're going to have some version of our guard stance. We do both a right and a left guard stance. In our martial arts studio, we are very adamant about being ambidextrous. I want you to train both right and left side, so that way it doesn't really matter which side you end up in an altercation or a sparring match. So, good guard stance, feet are going to be nice and relaxed. You don't want those knees to be locked out, but you do want a pretty reasonable athletic bend in those knees. That way you can kind of move and adjust as necessary. So we've got our right, and we've got our left. Now, the other stance that we need as a requirement for our yellow belt is everybody's frenemy, okay? And I'm talking about the horse stance. This is the stance that, oh man, like, if you do not have this stance dialed in by the time you are probably an orange or a purple belt, you really need to talk about your training. But your horse stance should look like so. Your feet are going to be nice and in line. We don't have a requirement that your toes be pointing the same direction. Aesthetically, I really like for you to try. But if your toes point out a little bit at a 45, not really going to be a big deal. But I am a big advocate for those toes straight, mostly because it adds a bit of mobility to the outside ankle right here, kind of stretches you out a little bit. And then ideally what we're looking for is we want to see a knee bend, okay? So don't let those knees lock out or stay straight, but you want those knees to bend. The closer you can get them to parallel to the ground, the better it looks, but you don't always have to be there. When I'm talking to my students when they're doing their hand strike drills or their blocking drills, I don't like them to be maxed out. Really, I want them to have some range of motion, boom, to set that weight when they are doing their block or their strike. But the other thing that we're looking at here, not just good solid knee bends, okay, we're looking at posture, okay? A lot of people, when they do this stance, okay, what they like to do is they like to start letting this chest lean forward. And because they're uncomfortable with sitting back and sitting up straight, it takes a couple of times to get used to keeping this back ramrod straight. And you want that. The other thing that we're looking for is tight ready hands on both sides before we start our drill. And you don't want your ready hands to be committed too low or committed too high. I generally like them right in the middle. And then what you're doing with your elbows in order to open up your airways, all right, is you're trying to touch your elbow points together in the back. So that way you get a good stretch across your chest and you're opening up those airways. And then you're really working on these legs, just getting nice and tired. So quick review, 5 basic stances moving from your white to your yellow belt. Attention stance, your relaxed stance, your right guard stance, your left guard stance, and then finally your horse stance. If you can sign off all of those, you've got one key component to moving up in rank. Anyway, guys, please make sure you're liking and subscribing and follow along. Please ask me any questions. I absolutely love talking about karate. And so if there's anything that you want to know, if you want to talk ideas, if you have a technique that you're having questions about, hit me up. Let's talk about it. Until next time, train hard, fight fast, score first. Asai.